So yeah, man, we them dudes, man. You may not see us on the TV with your favorite rapper. You may not hear us on the radio with the rest of them motherfuckers. But I guarantee you, when you see us come to your city, we some real motherfuckers, and our show is realer than a motherfucker, man. We making more money and we making better music, man. Pay dues, motherfucker.
What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? Welcome to the History of the Pay Dues Festival podcast. I'm your host and co-founder of the festival, Murs. This is just a preview of the Patreon exclusive series. To hear the full episode, go to patreon.com/Murs316. Pay Dues, Volume 3. This one is about the tour. My mentor, my partner, everything. Every time I quote him or reference him, realize that this is my recollection doesn't mean that it's true. We were on a run. We had some good sponsorship, and he told me that I was the first festival he ever known of to start in the black. I was in tune with the culture. I was a fan of the culture. I also didn't really have a hard-on for making myself the star. Those weekly listeners know what I mean. And keeping in the spirit of what I wanted. There's a quote on Wikipedia, I don't know from where, so forgive me for not citing the source, but it's a quote of myself, so I don't feel too bad. The national touring of Pay Dues is a dream come true. It's what I had in mind when I first brought the idea to Guerrilla Union. Something like a Warped Tour for underground hip-hop, where my friends and I could be outside in the daylight enjoying summer with our fans instead of cramped up in some dark, smelly nightclub, worried about staying up too late and being too tired for work the next morning. States Murs. It also provides a safe and comfortable environment in which the younger fans can be introduced to a proper live hip-hop show. Even at that time, before the mainstream motherfuckers started rapping over their vocals, I felt away about mainstream motherfuckers because they didn't tour. After the NWA, whatever fiasco, when they were hated on and rap was kicked out of national arenas and auditoriums and shit like that, even nightclubs in LA, you couldn't get insured for a hip-hop show. Every show has to have some type of insurance, and insurance companies allegedly stopped insuring hip-hop shows. So that's why I saw Wu-Tang at 1210 Hope Street when it was an abandoned building, or where I saw them at the boot camp click at the Musicians Hall on Vine and basically Santa Monica. Weird-ass vacant venues, vacant lots, car washes, shit like that. Shout out to all the early promoters in the hip hop scene, because it was hard. But through that era, mainstream artists would just collect their radio royalties, their publishing, and record sales, CD sales, tape sales. Record companies and mainstream rap artists were living off of that once nationwide touring was no longer a thing. People want to talk about they used gangster rap to infect the minds, maybe. And maybe by cutting off the national routing, they were hoping it wouldn't spread. Now the poison would be concentrated locally and on the airwaves. But I don't understand why they wouldn't want, live. That's because most of the crowds were white when it's live. Because for an artist to go gold, and this time is when I read in the source that once our album goes gold, which is 500,000 units sold, 70% of the audience is now white Americans. So yeah, you see CB4, you hear these truths or these theories.
Cell Block 4 has polluted the airwaves of this nation for too long. Their record of incitement, lewdness, and poor grammar will see them jailed, banned, and with their feelings hurt.
So by no fault of their own, mainstream artists' shows, live shows have become weak. Whack. Because they didn't eat off of them. We ate off of them. This is all we had to sell merch, to sell tapes, to encourage people to download our music for free on Napster and then pay to come to our shows. This was it for us. We were doing the punk rock circuit. ICP, Tech Nine, Hyro, and my crews that I brought on this. That was it. There was a small group of us going to these usually punk rock venues. And thank God for punk rock, because when they're rock venues, you're going to get a sound man. Punk rock venues were open. Punk rock is what really opened up for us. If we were dependent on real rock, heavy metal venues and country music to allow us to play in these bars, we'd be fucked. So shout out to every promoter, every bar in South Dakota, Minnesota, Tennessee, Arkansas, Wyoming, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, everywhere, Texas, that took a chance on this. Hip hop is different. This is not going to bring people who want to shoot each other and fuck up my bar or rob people. Shout out to them. Further shout out to those who didn't make it a race thing. Oh, if I have white rappers, then we won't have those problems. It's one thing I regret. I went into a place and forgot who the promoter was. And the motherfucker had nothing but white rappers on the wall. And I said, nah, I'm not performing tonight. And then I got a guilt trip. And so I did it. It didn't ruin my life, but I would have liked to have been able to stand on business that night. There's no, the excuse I was giving was, well, that's all he's had here so far. Well, I'm like, well, if that's all he knows, then he's fucking on the wrong foot, and let this protest show him that he needs to start getting some black people in this motherfucker. If you're going to put it on the wall, book who you want.
Yo, Mook. Mookie.
What?
How come you got no brothers up on the wall?
Man, ask Sal, right?
Hey, Sal, how come you got no brothers up on the wall here?
You want brothers on the wall? Get your own place. You can do what you want to do.
Whatever. You can tell it still bothers me. Yeah, that was my Spike Lee moment. Maybe I was just too fueled up for Do the Right Thing. But in hindsight, and 30 years later, I feel like I should, or 20 years later, I still shouldn't have performed. Because fuck that. Like, don't put it up on the wall until you can give an apt representation of hip-hop culture. Don't do that. If we don't start putting our foot down now, this is how the story gets fucked up later. Anyway, this tour, even though in my quote I'm spinning it, this was a bad idea. I told my partner it was a bad idea. Because I know in Baltimore, we were performing at a venue, same venue for years, since 98 when we first toured the nation with Hyro. There's a bar in Baltimore that next door to it was a crack house. And I want to give them props, but they might not see when I see it says props. But it was hood. Before I saw The Wire, this shit was true.
This America, man.
Anyway, I'd never seen The Wire. Shout out to my cousins in PG County from DC. They would come up and visit. But yeah, we talked about it with shock, like him explaining to me, like at this venue, years of going to this venue. Anyway, the venue's like a 500-person venue. They eventually revamped it and took over one of the crack houses and made it into a backstage area, but they didn't upgrade it too much, but enough to be punk rock, and I loved it. I'm saying this with all due respect. I'm just trying to give you a picture of it. Like imagine one of the like houses in The Wire, but with no crack hair or set heads, but like a couple beat up couches, a refrigerator, and somewhat decent bathroom. You can walk right from the stage into this house or this dwelling next door. This 2-story like walk up like they do. And then next door it was still popping. It was active. Baltimore. That's what we were doing. So when he said we were doing, Pier 6 Concert Pavilion, I'm like, bruh, even Atmosphere, like the biggest group on our tour, can't pack that. But all of you guys together, I was like, we all have the same fans. Atmosphere just has the most of the same fans. And then it's a trickle down from there. There's no one's going to tell you, at least in Baltimore, that I'm a Living Legends fan. Maybe a Murs fan. Yeah, like maybe. But it was like, there's not enough balance. Like if it was Little Brother was on the tour, then we'd be bringing Boot Camp and Little Brother and Jedi Mind Tricks. That'd be enough to bring in the other element. But right now, we're going to get all Atmosphere fans. We don't have LP with us. We don't have Aesop Rock with us. This is it. We're not doing the Pier 6 Concert Pavilion. Trust me, I know the business. I'm like, to do one festival. I've been touring at this point at least for 8 years, 2 times a year. This is when I've done probably at least 600, 700 shows at this point. Didn't listen. So it says it started July 25th in Chicago. Baltimore canceled before his tour even started. So the buses, I guess, were supposed to meet. I thought it was the other way around. I think Baltimore was the first one. I'm going to even go against Wikipedia on this. Baltimore canceled. The buses were there. The buses had to deadhead. Deadhead means when they don't have any car and crew and you have to pay the driver and the gas and the fee to drive the buses. So they had to deadhead to, I think that's what it is, to Chicago. We get a call that Chicago cancels the Congress Theater. So somehow we get a call from the Abbey Pub. And the same thing with Chicago. I'm like, yo, like, atmosphere does the Metro. Like, I don't know if we're ready for a 2,000, 3,000. I don't know what the Congress Theater is. Let's look it up. Yeah, 3,500 capacity at the Congress Theater. I don't know if we're ready for a 3,500 person room in Chicago with even atmosphere. At this time, it's 2007. I think atmosphere does that now probably. And what a blessing and how amazing is that? But we're not ready for that. So Congress cancels ticket sales. We only sold 500 tickets. We can't cancel 2 shows. It's bad for morale, bad for press, bad for everything. Now, in a typical thing where a situation where a promoter is booking an act for a festival, in some cases for just a one-off show. One-off means they do that show and then they go home. It's not part of a large run of shows. Sometimes I use jargon from the biz and I don't know if everyone gets it. If the promoter cancels the date, the artist is entitled to half of the guarantee. The guarantee is the price. Hey, Murs, we want you to come perform in Chicago for $2,500. We'll send you half as a deposit to let you know you don't know us, or just in case, like, you're the artist, we're going to be using your name and likeness to sell tickets. So in good faith, here's half of the money down. For Rock the Bells, sometimes at big festivals, Coachella, whatever, they give 10% down. Because we're bigger than you'll ever be. We've been around for 20 years. We'll be around next year. Chill. Here's 10%. Go sit down. We're good for it if you perform. But with the 50%, even the 10%, if the promoter has to cancel shows for lack of selling of tickets or for whatever reason, the artist keeps the deposit. Pay dues. This is where I say lost 50 G's on pay dues. Is that acceptable?
You'll never take the stripes on this triple OG and I blaze trails. Creative festival, lost 50 G's on paid dues. Is that acceptable? What? I'm not down for the cause.
Yo, thanks for tuning in to this preview of our Patreon exclusive series on the history of paid dues. To hear the full episode, click the link in the episode show notes or go to patreon.com/Murs316, where for as little as $5 a month, you can get full access to the entire series plus more exclusive perks, music, shit like that. Thank you for your support.
These fake moves,